And we welcome you into the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show as Penn State's Big Ten slate continues this week on the road. The 9th-ranked Nittany Lions visit the Maryland Terrapins. Brian Tripp inside the Lasch Building here tonight. Some snow showers earlier in Happy Valley today. We'll hear from head coach James Franklin coming up. His weekly media availability here in just a moment. In fact, Coach Franklin ready to address the media right now. Let's listen in.
Going back to August, what are the key areas where you've seen him kind of feel more comfortable with Penn State? And in this last month, what would you like to see from him?
Yeah, I think a couple things. I think sometimes, these transfers, it's a little bit like junior college players, where typically the second half of the year, they really start to get more comfortable and come on, or sometimes you have the opportunity to get them for a second year, and that's really valuable. We've been fortunate with COVID to get some of those junior college guys for 3 years. But there's value in that, obviously. So he's getting more comfortable. He's getting more confident. This is more of a I don't necessarily want to speak about his last situation, but I think we put a little bit more on the guys in terms of splits, in terms of route adjustments, in terms of just responsibilities. But he's gotten more and more comfortable and more confident. As he's gotten more reps and gotten more opportunities. So, that's been a positive. But that's really the biggest thing. He shows flashes that obviously he can do some really good things. It's about the consistency that I keep talking about.
You've gotten a chance for quite a few years now to see Taliaferro. Just curious how you've seen him change and develop as a quarterback and what kind of challenges he presents.
Yeah, really good player. Obviously, statistically, he's number one in every category at the University of Maryland. They've had some good quarterbacks all the way back to Boomer Esiason and Frank Reich and a ton of guys, that have played there. Obviously, the thing that makes him challenging is his not only decision-making as a passer and the weapons they have around him, but then also his athleticism and his quickness and his ability to improvise. Those are the things that become most challenging. But whenever you got a guy that's played as much football as he has, that's why I think there was so much confidence with Lasch and those guys coming into the season, and why they're confident now, because they got a veteran, experienced, proven quarterback.
James, you spoke highly of Dayquan yesterday and his development. What has stood out to you about his development and his ability to grow as a player and a leader?
Well, I just think about when we recruited him out of McDonough High School, how he's come here. He's graduated from Penn State and done extremely well. He's really taken advantage of the entire Penn State experience. He's got a tremendous network of people that think very, very highly of him, whether they're faculty on campus, whether they're coaches, or whether that's people that he's been able to build relationship, Penn State business owners and things like that. And then as a football player, he's played a ton of football here for us. He's always been a very articulate and charismatic guy. And then he's earned his teammates and the coaches' trust and respect. And then you combine that with, his intelligence and how articulate he is. He's been a very verbal leader for us. So I'm just really proud of him. He's got a great family, very supportive, and he's one of the guys like PJ that really got this thing rolling with McDonough. We've had a lot of guys from that high school come here and really thrive.
Hey James, speaking of Maryland quarterbacks, how has Danny done in his new role impacting Drew's development, and then also being the guy on the field during the game with Mike in the box?
Yeah, really good. I mean, obviously he played the position at a high level. Technically, I guess you could say in the Big Ten. Obviously played in the CFL, played the position in the CFL as well. Now has worked with Mike for multiple years and understand what Mike wants. Has worked with me or played for me for a long time, so he kind of understands what I'm looking for. And then I think he's just done a really good job of developing relationships and trust, with our quarterback room. And he's done the same thing in recruiting. He's done a great job in recruiting. Mike, I don't think would have went in the booth if he wasn't comfortable with how Danny would operate and function on the sideline, and we wouldn't have done it either unless Drew and the quarterbacks were comfortable with it. So I think he's got a really bright future in the profession, and I'm very, very proud of him. He was our roommate before Frank. He lived over the garage. My wife finally got him out. And we thought that was going to be open for our friends to stay in again. And then Frank's been in there for 2 years. So that's where we're at.
James was reading you, right, on your call-in show last week, or your radio show last week. I thought you said that you work on a package with Bo and Drew on the field at the same time.
Correct.
How viable would that be in an actual game, and what would be the advantage of that as opposed to giving Bo just a series?
Yeah, we've been working on it all year. I think I've mentioned it a couple different times. I think when you put Bo in the game, defensively, there's a certain mindset of how you defend a dual threat quarterback, or a lot of the stuff they've seen on Bo has been mainly as almost like a wildcat quarterback in some ways. So you're going to defend that differently than if Drew's on the field as well. So I think it just keeps people honest with both of those guys on the field, that we can run the entire package now. We can run some of the quarterback stuff, the wildcat stuff. We can run some of the traditional stuff. Obviously, it opens up a plethora of things that wouldn't make sense competitively to get into right now.
James, going off that question earlier.
What's LFC?
Liverpool FC.
Oh, nice. I'm a Manchester United guy.
Anyways, going off
Yeah.
of 2 questions ago, why do you think you've been able to recruit so well in Maryland?
To be honest with you, if you look, Penn State's recruited that area for a long time really well. This is a tremendous opportunity, for young men that want to leave the area and do something different, but don't get too far from home. Obviously, we've been able to continue that. And then obviously, between my relationships in the state of Maryland, I was the recruiting coordinator at the University of Maryland for a long time. My relationships, I recruited PG County, D.C., and Maryland for a long time, including Pennsylvania. And then the same with my staff. I got a number of guys, whether it's Kenny Sanders, who lived in Baltimore and worked for the Ravens. I can go on and on. We got a ton of relationships. And I think that's what it really comes down to. I mean, you look at McDonough. Why have we been so successful at McDonough? Well, P.J. Mustipher came and had a great experience. And at the end of the day, if high school coaches and players come here and they have a good experience, and they tell their buddies that, then it lends to more guys wanting to come. So that's really what it comes down to, is just long, proven relationships.
Hey James, do you think you can predict turnovers? Because there's some conversation about turnovers being kind of a random stat, but you've been able to produce them in this defense, and obviously matchup situations, specifically with certain teams that are more volatile in that area than others. Do you feel like going into a game, you can predict you might get 1 or 2?
No, I wish I could predict that we get 7 each weekend, or I would predict that every week. No, I mean, obviously there's teams where you look and they've done a really good job of protecting the football on tape. There's other teams that you look statistically and they've done a good job of protecting the football, but then you watch the tape and you don't know if necessarily the tape aligns with that. They've just been fortunate. They've gotten away with it. So no, I wouldn't describe it the way you would, but yeah, I think each week you sit here and say, okay, this team, based on the film and the data, shows that there's going to be some opportunities for us to make some plays on the ball, and we need to. But I wouldn't necessarily describe it as predict, if that's if I answered that, what you're asking.
James, this is I'm prefacing this by saying this is a look-ahead question.
Which I love.
Well, I've learned my lesson.
Yeah. But here we go again.
within the context of how it was won and how the previous week went, do you get a sense this week that perhaps the team is galvanized in a way that maybe wasn't there before? Is there any of that happening?
I guess where we're different is, and I get it, the fans and the media that cover Penn State football, you're totally focused on us. And I get it, but there's just so many examples. I mean, there's teams that have ranked the number 1, number 2, number 3 team in the country, and they struggle to get a win. And no one kind of talks about that. But when we struggle to get a win or it's not as pretty, then everybody's like, is overly concerned, in my opinion. It's a long season. You're not going to dominate every single week. You got to find ways to win, however you do it. And then you got to learn from the wins, and you got to learn from the challenges, and you got to learn from the setbacks and be very honest and transparent with yourself and your team. But I also think it's important to put in perspective. Every Sunday, I put up on the PowerPoint slide, I never come in and say it to you guys, because I think if I say those things, it's going to be looked at as a slight to another program, which I don't mean it as. But I think there was 3 programs this week ranked in the top 17 in the country that lost to unranked opponents. And then when we don't play as well people think we should, but still win, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to apologize for winning. So I get it, and I get the question. You know, I think throughout the season you use the word galvanized. I think you need to become stronger throughout the entire season based on your experiences, the successes, the setbacks, the adversity, the challenges, all of it. It's experiences for these young guys and for our staff to continue to kind of learn and grow and evolve and see who we are and use that to get better as fuel in a lot of different ways. So I understand the question, but to me, it's a season that's going to look very different each week based on a lot of factors: home, away, weather, environment, matchups. There's going to be a team where you say, on paper, you're supposed to be worse or supposed to be better, and the game doesn't play out that way because you got matchups that are in your favor or are not in your favor. So there's just so many things that kind of go into it. At some point, I'd like to figure out how, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say it. Stop myself, get myself in trouble. Yeah, Chris is like, last one. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
I mean, do you get the sense that maybe folks aren't putting things into context, or you were asked after Saturday about the emotional, physical, mental toll that goes on the players, and you very quickly said people don't care about that. Why don't you think people care about that? Because there's a lot more that goes into the season, kind of as you said. Yeah,
I think first of all, again, I don't really want to get into this, but to try to answer your question the best I possibly can, let's be honest. We all know there's examples. We're going through an example of it right now. As much as at Penn State that we value education, the complete experience, the well-rounded student athletes, the well-rounded individual, society from every direction is telling you that it's win and win at all costs. And that's all that matters. And to be honest with you, you guys see examples of it every single day. And you're a part of it, and I'm a part of it too. It's mixed messages. And as a society, it's become more and more of that. And I mean, there's a ton of examples of it right now. So my point is all that other stuff that you're talking about, is it real? Yes. Does anybody want to hear it from me? No. And to me, I think there's just a ton of examples, and in some ways it's sad that if you're winning, none of that other stuff matters. And the opposite is also true.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Head coach James Franklin with his Wednesday media availability ahead of Penn State and Maryland, 3:30 on Saturday from College Park at SECU Stadium. Brian Tripp, delighted to be with you here from the Lasch Building tonight. We are inside. We'll be joined by Dayquan Hardy and Khalil Dinkins coming up in just a moment. But the Penn State football team, like so many of us, celebrating Halloween earlier this week. And you have to check out this video. The guys, there was a mannequin in the lobby, and man, some of those were spooked pretty bad by that mannequin right there.
Oh! No. Oh my. She's there. Oh my gosh. She's like, oh, that's on camera. Yeah, hey, bro. Oh. Is that?
What the? This is something. I thought you were a mannequin.
Ah! Yo! You got it. You got it. That was crazy. I had a feeling that was going to go.
Great moments earlier this week, just down the hallway outside the fifth quarter entrance to the Lasch Building. And Khalil, you were one of the guys that, now you didn't make the video, but I heard you were spooked pretty bad by the mannequin.
Yeah, they got me. They definitely did. I want to say spooked. I'll say more startled. You know, I did a little jump, but I definitely knew that day was coming. I just had to, I wasn't sure when it was coming, but I knew it was coming for sure.
There's nothing you can do to prepare for that. Tight end Khalil Dinkins, our first guest here on the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show tonight. Now, watching your other teammates, how did your reaction compare to some of your other teammates who were scared in that video there?
Mine was way better. Like, it was more chill, more neutral, more less scared for sure. But yeah, they definitely got some of them, especially Keys for sure. But yeah, definitely would hate to be like that.
Did you celebrate Halloween? What's your favorite candy? What's your favorite Halloween candy?
I'm gonna get hated on, but it's candy corn. Easily favorite Halloween candy. Just brings back all the day, all the Halloween vibes and everything. So candy corn for sure. Kit Kats, Reese's Pieces. No, Reese's Cups, not the Pieces one. Those are, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I like those ones, but yeah. Those top three. Yeah.
Don't share the candy corn thing with Coach Franklin. I don't know if you know his disdain for candy corn. Now, your brother's also on the Penn State football team. Going back to childhood, best costumes. Did you have some costumes that you and your brother both wore when you were growing up?
So back in the day, me and my brother were super religious. You know, my parents were very Christian, strict, so we didn't celebrate that much Halloween. But as we got older, they let us, you know, roam around more. So like, we wouldn't do no duos, but we would just try to like one up each other. Like, one year he did a Joker. It was pretty tough. I forget what I did, but like, he did a good looking Joker, you know. But it is what it is.
I'm glad you mentioned your parents because both were athletes. Your dad played in the NFL. How did your parents mentor and shape you and your brother to help you get to where you are today?
Well, my dad played in the league for about 9 years, so he's always was able to coach me up. Mornings, afternoon, literally any time of the day, he would just take me and my brother training. He had his own facility. He would train some people. Me and my brother was in there probably from 8 to 8 p.m. just helping them, you know, working out, getting our stuff right. And yeah, so my mom, you know, she always tried to help me with my academics and stuff. So she was always just a big like mental side and physical side for me. So yeah.
couple of Pittsburgh area guests on our show tonight with Dayquan Hardy. Did you guys play together against each other in high school at all?
I don't think we played against each other, but we definitely beat Penn Hills, had to run up on them after they left. I know they had a season for sure, but, not when they left.
He's sitting over there chuckling at that. He's coming up next. But we have to talk about this season right now. All you do is catch touchdowns. 2 receptions, 2 touchdowns this year, 3 touchdowns in your career on 6 catches. We're going to take a look at some of the touchdowns from this season with you here, Khalil. And let's go back to that Iowa game. It's a 3-0 game here, second quarter, and you're just coming across. And this is a big play, too, on a 4th down. What'd you see on that play?
I just seen, it was zone. They didn't run with Nick. I already knew I was about to get the ball. I mean, we repped that play so many times in practice. It's just like I just got to go out there and catch the ball for real. So as soon as no one went with Nick, I knew I was about to be wide open. I just had to get into the end zone to catch the ball.
We talked to Coach Howell earlier this week about what the run game means for the passing game. When you guys have that play action going and you're able to commit to what you're doing blocking for those running backs, how does that impact the passing game then for your team?
It just it sets it up, going down the field, on those third down drives, we had those big gains and everything. So being able to pass the ball really helps us move the ball. But being able to block. My coach always be saying, you want to catch the ball, you got to block first. So that's what all our tight ends, we try to stand on that and try to do. So
spoken like a true offensive line letterman here at Penn State, right? You're Coach Ty Howell, coaching the tight ends. Let's take a look at your other touchdown from this season, and it's coming against Indiana this past week. Have you ever been more open?
I don't think I was that open for a long time. Like, the ball was in the air for so long that I just always think about if I drop this ball that the people behind me are going to start booing me, and don't want that to happen.
No one wants that to happen.
You kind of see I kind of bobbled it right there. But I was just nervous catching that ball. I could hear the students. They would start yelling, like, he's open. I was like, if I drop this ball, might as well walk off the field right now.
I'm never going to hear the end of it, but all you've done so far, catch touchdowns. Khalil, great stuff so far this season. Appreciate the time tonight. Good luck this weekend against Maryland.
Thank you.
Khalil Dinkins joining us here on the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show. Nittany Lions and Terrapins coming up. Here's our game week schedule. It all kicked off with Coach Franklin's press conference yesterday at 12:30. Our Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show here tonight, and then the Penn State Coaches Show coming up tomorrow, 6 o'clock from the Field, Burger, and Tap. And once again, let us know where you're watching from tonight. We'd love to hear from you. If you have questions for our student athletes, feel free to drop those questions into our comment section. We want to know where everyone's watching from tonight, and we appreciate all the great comments so far. We have Josh watching from Illinois. I appreciate everyone tuning in to tonight's show, and then you look at our busy game day schedule as well coming up for Saturday. It begins with the Wise Tailgate Show on radio at 2 p.m., 3:30 kickoff against the Terrapins, and then post-game we have all the coverage as well, including our Unrivaled post-game show live from Maryland with immediate exclusive reaction from student athletes and coaches after the game. We're joined now by Dayquan Hardy, Penn State secondary, also punt returner for the Nittany Lions. And Dayquan, we just heard about Khalil and his pride. He's from Pittsburgh, and now he's here at Penn State, also another Pittsburgh area guy playing at Penn Hills High School. What is it about representing your state and being here at Penn State?
Man, it means a lot, just being around. My family gets to come see me. It's just, just a home atmosphere. I really haven't ventured off much across the states, but it's just always a good time to be in Pennsylvania.
You mentioned home, family, that feeling of family. What is it about this program, the staff, everyone that you're around every single day, and not just the coaching staff, everyone that you see in this building that makes it feel like home?
Man, it's just the love that everyone has for each other. Like it's real genuine. Everybody really cares for one another, and even from the coaching staff, some coaches kind of just want you just to play. This staff wants the best out of you, either football, classroom, you as a person. So it's just love in general.
Through all your time here at Penn State, take the football part out of it. How have you grown as a person because of the experiences that you've gained from being a student athlete here on campus?
It just taught me a lot. Just diving into different diversities, just meeting new people, just helped me become a better man, just off the field, just relationships in total. So I just say that's the biggest thing.
Well, I know after the UMass game we talked about the punt returns and obviously the excitement of that, and that's been such a great asset to the football team. When you're back there getting set to return a punt, what are some of the things, the fans want to know, what are the things that you're looking at as a punt returner?
Honestly, I try to see the punter kick the ball. I try to, some punt returners kind of look up and down and see what the coverage is. I'm kind of different. I just kind of stare at the ball. I kind of feel when they're kind of too close to me or whatnot. But my biggest thing when I'm back there is just catch the ball. Just catch the ball. That's what's going through my head as I'm back there. Like, I got to catch it. That's the biggest thing. And after I catch it, I just let my instincts take over, honestly.
56 and 68 yards on these punt return touchdowns against UMass. And this is pretty crazy here, Dayquan. You did it. You're the first guy ever to do 2 in the same game. Only 4 other players have actually returned 2 punts for a touchdown in a single season, and this is pretty good company. Larry Johnson, Bruce Branch, O.J. McDuffie, and Jimmy Cefalo. That's pretty darn good company, and that's for an entire season. You did it twice in one game. What was the reaction as you talk to family, friends, you hear from fans after a game like that?
It's funny because most of my family and friends, they watched me play football for a long time. And if you watch me, I kind of did this a lot in high school. So, like
4 touchdowns in the state championship game.
Right. But, it's funny. In high school, most of my punt returns or kick returns would get caught back because, illegal blindside box or whatnot. But, like, they wasn't really surprised. They was like, we been know you could do this. We're just happy that you got the chance to be back there finally. So it wasn't really no surprise to them.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I know we want to talk about the defense as well, but one last special teams question. Coach talked about the growth, the consistency of those units throughout the course of the season. How, as special teams units, do you feel like you've impacted the game and continue to grow and be consistent there?
Yeah, definitely. It's just when you got someone who could go 90 yards back there, it gives the other teams, kind of a nightmare. And also, Riley's doing a great job punting the ball. Our kickoff cover team is running down there great. Kick return, we had a big kick return last week. So just all 4 phases on special team are just kind of gelling together, and is making a huge difference for our team right now.
We know how deep that cornerback room is that you guys have and what you've been able to do throughout the course of the season. As you go into Maryland, knowing what kind of challenge their passing game and their weapons, their quarterback and wide receivers present, what are some of the things that you think about throughout the course of the week without giving any strategy and X's and O's away against the Terps? What are the things that you emphasize back there getting ready for a matchup like this? And this is the type of matchup you get excited for coming to a place like Penn State.
Well, we know these guys are going to come in here. They're going to compete hard. Most of those guys, we got a couple guys on our team from the Maryland area. Yeah. So it's kind of like an in-house rivalry, you know what I'm saying? So, the guys going to be after us. So we just got to come with our A game and be ready to go.
Well, what's the importance of being a really good slot corner?
It's just, cause in today's football, the slot on the offense is kind of like one of the biggest parts of the offense nowadays. So having a guy who can almost like match up against the slot receivers and take away one of their easiest throws kind of helps the defense in total. So
a lot of different experiences throughout the course of the season. As your defense has gone on, where are you getting better and better, where you're learning from every experience that you may have, even if there is a little adversity or resiliency that you need to show?
Yeah, definitely. I just try to just play every snap, just try to just go out there and just try to just think about what my assignment is, my job that I play. And I feel like that puts me in position to make plays and helps other guys on the team make plays.
Dayquan, great stuff. Good luck this week against Maryland. Appreciate it. Dayquan Hardy joining us here on the Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show ahead of the Nittany Lions and Terps coming up at 3:30 on Fox from College Park on Saturday. Maryland started this year 5-0, dropped their last 3, but they're a very talented football team, especially on offense. Penn State leads the all-time series 42-3-1. Let's dive into our key players to watch for this week's matchup between the Nittany Lions and Terrapins. On the offensive side of the football, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Penn State wide receiver, had that game-winning touchdown grab last week of 57 yards. A big part of the Penn State passing attack and those big plays for Lambert-Smith. In fact, now in his career, 4 touchdown catches of 50 yards or greater, 43 catches, 550 yards, 4 touchdowns this season. On the defensive side of the football, it all starts with getting pressure up front against Taliaferro and that Maryland offense. 17 different players with a sack. You see the depth there. Vanover, Isaac Fisher, Denai Dennis Sutton, all taking on expanded roles with Chop Robinson missing last week. They've had terrific seasons, and that depth will be important going against Maryland's offense on the defensive line. And if they can get pressure, it will make life easier for those Penn State DBs who have been locked down all season long. We just talked to Dayquan Hardy here on our Unrivaled Weekly Preview Show. Kalen King, Johnny Dixon, that trio has been really good. Maryland, Deshaun Jones, Caden Prather, Ty Felton, good group of wide receivers, dangerous guys out of the backfield as well, with Roman Hemby and, of course, Tungavailoa at quarterback. This should be a great matchup with Penn State's Penn State's secondary going against Maryland's offense. That's why you look at what that defensive line can do with pressure, and you see them ball hawking all season long. The Nittany Lions and Terrapins, the matchup coming up on Saturday. Our players to watch for Maryland, and we start at quarterback with Talia Tungavailoa, 5'11", 208, and he holds nearly every school passing record. You look at his numbers this year, absolutely outstanding. Jones, the wide receiver, graduate student, again, guys that have been around, have had a lot of success playing college football, 36 receptions, 496 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then Wyatt on the defensive side, 22 tackles, but 5.5 of those for a loss, and 3.5 sacks so far this season as the Nittany Lions get set to head to College Park to take on the Maryland Terrapins. Well, it was a very good week for Penn State, obviously, on the football field here at Beaver Stadium, defeating Indiana 33-24. Also a good week for those Nittany Lions who have gone on to the next level. Let's take a look at the highlights from this past week in the NFL. This week in the NFL, for the first time this season, Giants running back Saquon Barkley with over 100 yards rushing, accumulating 128 yards on the ground against the Jets. A career day for Commanders wide receiver Jahan Dotson. This touchdown, a part of 8 catches for 108 yards for the second-year wide receiver in a hard-fought battle with Philadelphia on Sunday. Bucs wide receiver Chris Godwin hauled in this touchdown for one of his 5 catches on Thursday at Buffalo. Finally, Cowboys linebacker Micah Parsons with yet another sack, his 6th of the year in a lopsided win over the Rams. What a great week for those Nittany Lions at the next level. A very busy week in Penn State athletics this week outside of football. Field hockey, Big Ten tournament postseason, women's soccer, men's soccer, women's volleyball. Number 1 Nebraska is here on Friday. Women's hockey at Lindenwood on Friday and Saturday, and men's hockey starts Big Ten play. So a very, very busy time for Penn State athletics. Go to gopsusports.com for more there. Speaking of field hockey, here is our Big Ten tournament field hockey bracket. The Nittany Lions kick it off tomorrow, 11 a.m., taking on Ohio State, the 4-5 matchup. This all hosted in Ann Arbor by the University of Michigan. The winner of that matchup takes on Northwestern, and that is on Friday. So Penn State, Ohio State field hockey tomorrow at 11 a.m. to kick off the Big Ten field hockey tournament, game number 1 from Michigan. The Penn State women's soccer team defeated Indiana in their quarterfinal 3-0 at Jeffrey Field. What a game for Erica Dombach's squad. 13-1-4 during the regular season. Ava Alonso started the scoring from Caitlin McBean. Then Amelia White adding to that in the first half. Penn State a 2-0 lead. McBean tallies one of her own here early in the second half for Penn State, and they'll take on Iowa for the first time this season in the Big Ten tournament semifinals coming up again, upsetting regular season champion Michigan State, those Hawkeyes. So it's the Hawkeyes and the Nittany Lions, the matchup, and that is tomorrow at 7:30. You can watch that on the Big Ten Network. Nebraska and Wisconsin in the other semifinal, and that is being played at lower.com field in Columbus, Ohio. So Penn State in the Big Ten women's soccer tournament there. And now the Big Ten men's soccer tournament. The Nittany Lions sharing the Big Ten regular season championship, coming from behind with a 1-1 draw at Wisconsin on Sunday. Penn State, the number 2 seed, takes on 7th seeded Rutgers, and that's going to be at 6 o'clock. We know 6 o'clock, Penn State and Rutgers at Jeffrey Field on Friday as the Nittany Lions get set to take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And we are joined by one of the standouts from the Penn State men's soccer team, Ben Linscomb, with us right here tonight on the Unrivaled weekly preview show from the Lasch Football Building. And Ben, your team obviously has had a terrific season so far, but take me through the mindset. Trailing Wisconsin 1-0 going into the second half on Sunday, knowing what was at stake. What was the mindset going into that moment, and then to be able to capture a share of the Big Ten regular season championship?
Yeah, I think the game at Wisconsin is super tough, right? I mean, they've got a narrow field. Away from home is never easy, especially in Wisconsin, tough weather. And I think down 1-0 at half, it was unfortunate, but I think at that moment we said we've got to get a result. We've got to find a way to either get a draw or a win and give ourselves a chance to win the Big Ten title.
I know you want to have that big moment, that crowning moment, win it at home, but when that trophy's handed to you over on the track there at Wisconsin, what was that moment like for you and your teammates? Because it's so hard to win a regular season championship. It takes so much perseverance, a little bit of luck, because it's such a long season.
Yeah, I think you've definitely got to have your good share of fortune, but I think that was just the culmination of a lot of hard work since July. I mean, our entire team was here the beginning of July, putting in a ton of work, voluntary, and I think just the commitment from everyone, from the staff all the way down through the players and everyone else. It was just great this year, and I think it was a good way to cap off the regular season.
So many new faces brought into the program for this season. What was that process like for them to acclimate, learn that culture, and then having those new faces? Man, the depth was a really big key to your success throughout the course of the season. How did all of that come together?
Yeah, I think in the summer we knew it was going to be an onboarding process. We had 10 freshmen, a ton of new guys, very young, but we took that in stride. We took them under our wing. They got to know what Penn State's all about, especially men's soccer, and we got them into the system right away, and they've played a huge role this season for us.
What's the mindset now as you go into the postseason, right? You got one championship, but I know that's just the first box that you were able to check with your team. So what does the approach have to be as now you head into this tournament going for a second championship in the Big Ten tournament?
Yeah, obviously super happy with the weekend, and it's great. And I think now we're shifting our focus toward Friday night, and every single game from here on out is a championship. And we're 0-0 at this point, and we've just got to go out and beat Rutgers. And I think we're in a great position moving into the playoffs.
That's a nice goal you scored right there earlier this season as well. Rutgers, you just faced them a couple of weeks ago, hard-fought 2-1 defeat on the road. What are the lessons you take from that game and apply going into Friday? Right here, by the way. You get them this time right here at Jeffrey Field.
Yeah, I think having it at home is a big deal, especially when we get the Park Avenue Army out in front of us. It's always huge just to be in Penn State. But I think we had a slow start against Rutgers, and we acknowledged that. And I think we've learned lessons from that game, and we've moved on, and we've got a couple wins after that were big. And so I think we've got a ton of confidence going into Friday.
When you look at what this program's been able to accomplish, second Big Ten regular season championship the last 3 years, some really good postseason runs, right? The couple years before that. What has made this program click? Why are things going right now for the Penn State men's soccer team?
I think it's one word, and I just think it's togetherness. Yeah. I think we've got 28 guys that are on the same page right now together, and I think everyone's got to be bought in to one goal. And I think this year we've done that outstandingly, and I think we've just got great leaders and a good group of core guys that are driving this team forward.
Well, you're a part of that leadership group, I know, and when you have everyone bought in, everyone that's always aiming to achieve that same goal, that togetherness, how does that, obviously it's a closeness off the field and on the field. How do you get that sense when you're in a tight game in a postseason? It's 1-1. You're going into the 80th minute. How can that pay off for a soccer team coming down the stretch?
I think knowing that when you look to your left and your right, you know you've got a brother right next to you that's going to do absolutely everything he can for you and the rest of the team to find a way to win. And I think when we get in those situations, especially in playoffs, because they're going to happen, it's going to be 1-1 in the 80th minute late on. I think knowing that we have the confidence, we have the fitness, we have the ability, and all you need is that little bit of togetherness, that little bit of camaraderie, and that'll take you the rest of the way.
Well, the football team on the road this weekend, soccer 6 o'clock Jeffrey Field, then women's volleyball number 1 Nebraska 8:30. It's a really good Friday to come out to Happy Valley and support two teams in just huge matches for each of them. What's your message to fans? Why do they need to be there, along with that Park Avenue Army on Friday, to make sure you guys are moving on to the next round?
Yeah, I think overall it's a great weekend for Penn State athletics, and we're looking to kick it off with a big win against Rutgers and just keep this season alive. So come out and support us, and we look forward to having you.
Ben, really appreciate it. Good luck in the postseason. Thanks so much. Ben
Appreciate
Liscombe joining us here on the show tonight. There's another look at the Big Ten men's soccer tournament bracket. All games are hosted by the higher seed at campus sites, and Penn State has the number 2 seed now, an opportunity hopefully here, maybe they'll get a little help as well, to host all the way through winning that Big Ten postseason championship. It's Rutgers Friday, 6 o'clock from Jeffrey Field, one of the great venues, great venues. Can't wait to see that place rocking on Friday. Here's our football game week schedule as the Nittany Lions continue to get their preparations underway and get ready for the Maryland Terrapins. Tomorrow, the Penn State Coaches Show featuring head coach James Franklin leads up to our Saturday game day coverage, 2 o'clock with the Tailgate Show, kickoff at 3:30, and then our post-game coverage as well on Saturday. The Penn State Coaches Show tomorrow features Penn State men's hockey head coach Guy Godowski kicking it off as they'll open Big Ten play with Notre Dame Saturday and Sunday at Pagula, 7:30 on Saturday, 4:30 on Sunday. Hear from both of those head coaches tomorrow at the Field Burger and Tap. It's presented by Pepsi, and you can catch that on the radio side. Post-game, don't forget, after the show, or after the game, we'll have the Unrivaled post-game show with 9th-ranked Penn State visiting Maryland as the Nittany Lions and Terrapins battle to kick off. It's hard to believe that we flipped into the month of November already. So what a great show we had tonight here inside the Lasch Building. Appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. It's see those comments. We know you're watching. We know you're watching from everywhere. We appreciate your support of Penn State football and all of our great Penn State athletics teams as we hit the stretch run here for so many of those fall sports. Remember, check gopsusports.com, social media, anywhere that you can go to follow each and every one of those teams. Maybe they're even coming to your area. You know, if you're in Ann Arbor, if you're in Columbus to check out women's soccer, if you're down in Maryland, so many great alums down in the DMV. Please come out, support your Penn State teams, including Penn State football this weekend against the Terrapins. Great work by Ross Woomer and Alyssa Wagner producing our show here tonight. I'm Brian Tripp saying so long from the Lasch Football Building. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you after the game. Nittany Lions going to go 1-0 this week, taking on Maryland. We'll talk to you after the game with the Unrivaled postgame show coming up on Saturday.